While Medellín is absolutely gorgeous, and while there are so many rewarding experiences that one could gain from living here, there are definitely some trade offs. And so today we're going to talk about the pros and cons, my pros and cons from my vantage point living here in Medellín. So if you're interested, stick around. What's up, everybody? It is your girl Lerato Marie, and welcome back to the channel. I missed you guys. Please indulge me today as I talk to you all about the pros and cons of living in Medellín. Being here in Medellín for 6 months, for a 6 month stint, as opposed to last year, it's hitting different, right? I think that sometimes when you go to places for the first time, as I did last year, you are a little romanticized. And many of us, for lack of a better word, come to Medellin and we get seduced because this place has so much beauty and richness and culture that it can swallow you. And last year I came for a 1 week trip invited by a friend of a friend. You guys may remember that in the video. And I ended up staying for 3 months. All right. It was so good. And I had so much community that I decided to live here part time. So this year I am spending 6 months in this beautiful city. And I had an incident today that really prompted me to make this video because while Medellin is absolutely gorgeous and while there are so many rewarding experiences that one could gain from living here, there are definitely some trade-offs. So we're going to get into the pros first. Pro number one, Medellin is absolutely beautiful, okay? The second that you land in that airport and your driver is driving you into the city, whether you're in El Poblado, Envigado, Laureles, or somewhere else, the first thing you will notice is how green it is. My God, this place, it's like a beautiful culmination of just city and greenery, and they harmonize so beautifully. It was like nothing I'd ever seen, nothing I'd ever seen. And so that's very refreshing, right? Clear skies, greenery everywhere, huge trees, beautiful mountains. What could be better? Especially from a person like me that was coming from Houston in Michigan and used to just kind of like, a lot of buildings around you, but not so much green. Oh, this place was an instant nervous system regulator just being around the nature. So that's number one. Number two, very similar to the looks of the place, and well, this is probably owed to it, is the weather. All right. So they call Medellin la ciudad de la primavera eterna, which means the city of eternal spring. And that could not be truer. I mean, you're getting 75 to 77, maybe 80-degree weather year round. Medellin is quite mild. And I have to say this too for my sisters that are going through perimenopause, or if you're just resistant to a lot of heat, baby, your skin and your body will absolutely love it. Okay. Yes, it rains, and some people feel like that's a con, which we'll talk about later. But to me, it's not, because if you don't have the rain, you will not have all of this beautiful, lush nature around us. So for me, it's a plus. And yeah, the weather is something else. Now, Medellin is also a place that really surprised me because, we travel, or I've traveled to different places that I've loved, and I've said, yo, I want to come back, I want to stay here in XYZ. But the communities here, all right, the communities for me is what grounded me truly into not only this country, but specifically this city. So Medellin, it has a conscious community that's thriving. So there are plenty of things that you can do, plenty of ceremonies in the mountains. I did an ayahuasca ceremony, which I plan on talking about, that was life changing. cacao ceremonies, ecstatic dance. There are tons of creative events that's, taking place all the time where people are doing the work. And I'm going to tell you all, there is a strong divine feminine pull in this part of the earth. And so for folks that are doing that healing and that are leaning into that space, they'll probably find themselves here at some point to work on some, maybe some ancestral or some matrilineal divine feminine things, ideas, and principles like softening and things of that sort. So let me not go off on a tangent, but the energy here is real, okay? And the last thing I would say about the community, which was dope, is the Black expat community. I love us. I love us. Yes, Black expats, just like any other expats, are comprised of people. So there are hurdles that we have to get over. There are ebbs and flows. But what I love about it is that there's so much to do. There are so many different ways that we gather, whether it's women, whether it's co-ed, and we really know how to have a good time. Actually, last week I was just meeting up with a friend and her daughter was in town and she's a sister. And so we were talking, we had lunch, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going over to this one place to get a foot detox. Y'all should come." So we were like, fine, we went. Oh my God, we ended up going to the foot detox place. It's ran by two brothers who are expats, right, Black, from the States. We're listening to all of the R&B that our hearts can contain, okay? Had a little bit of Leon Thomas on. And we're just sitting back kicking it. And it was the most beautiful impromptu meetup that my soul needed, right? So yes, we do connect with locals out here, but there is a thriving presence of Black expats out here. And I would just let everyone know that, remember, when you're coming to places, whether it's here in Merida, in Mexico, wherever, we are human. And so there is no utopia. When we're working in community, part of community is healing and healing together. And so engage. Don't let, and when you come into the communities, allow your spirit to move you into the right places with the right people, because it can really ground you here. And that's exactly what it did for me. All right, what's the next one? Hold on. Oh my God, short trips. Okay, so Medellín, because it's, an international hub, there's an airport that will basically get you to anywhere. You can get to Miami within a few hours if you needed to go back home. You can get to Mexico, you can get to, obviously the States, but you can also take several bus trips and short plane trips to some of the most beautiful places you've ever seen. This past month, I went to the coast, which was an hour and 15-minute flight, and me and a friend went to Minca and Santa Marta, where you can experience a different level of vibrancy, but also being up in the mountains in Minca. There's a jungle, there's indigenous people, there's all different types of energy and just beautiful experience you can have. And then I went to a little treasure cove that to me is basically like the Colombian version of Bali, which is Palomino. So I'll be talking about those in other videos, but man, within a few hours driving on a bus ride or an Uber, or a couple hours on an airplane for a $51 round trip ticket, you can be somewhere that's exciting and that gives you a completely different vibe so that you can explore the country more. So I love that. I love that so much about Medellin, especially when you compare it to the US, right? Because we know getting from one place to another can be multiple hundreds of dollars, and you just don't have that here. So that is another plus. Okay, another pro I have is learning Spanish. I do believe that Medellin is a great place to learn Spanish because the Spanish is spoken clearer and it's also kind of slow. So the next one is healthcare. Healthcare here, I have to say, has been really good. I have been able to go into dentist offices and get things fixed that I've had the hardest time getting fixed in, the States. Also, it's for a fraction of the price. There are plenty of expats that I know that are currently coming out looking into PRP because it's all the rage now, right? Let me tell you, the service here is at a fraction of the cost. And I feel like, at least from my experience, that it's more holistic. What do I mean when I say that? I'm personally dealing with perimenopause. Oh my God, how many times am I going to say that in this video? But anyway, I am. It's a reality, right? And so I ran out of my prescriptions for the estrogen. I go to several pharmacies, they didn't have it. So I was like, all right, I'll do the doctor's visit. I paid I paid 80 USD for the doctor's visit. Not only did she give me a sit down consultation, she also gave me a breast exam, gave me a physical examination, but then she gave me a transvaginal, what do you call it? Ultrasound. She's like, okay, I'm going in. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, lady. I didn't even know that we did this in the gynecologist's office. And she's like, yeah. So she goes and she's doing her thing and she's literally showing me where the issue, right, that I've been dealing with, it has gotten bigger because of the HRT that I've been taking. And so she's taking this very intentional, holistic process with me to make sure that I'm getting the best care. Crazy. Do y'all know back in the States, I don't believe they do that. It's never happened with me where I've gone in for a standard consultation and she gave me an entire ultrasound, told me the results immediately, and got me into contact with a specialist that I'll be meeting with tomorrow. Seriously. So it's holistic, it's fast, and it's at a fraction of the cost for than it is in the States, right? Absolutely amazing. I will probably update y'all on some of my health as I go through it, because I will tell you this has been a long battle. But what I am learning about healthcare abroad is that there is just more of a holistic approach, and they want to get things done and completed and not draw them out. Not to say that the US doctors are, but that's, for us, have been many of our experiences where it's just years and years of trying to get the help you need. And then you go abroad and you find somebody that, can kind of remedy it within a couple months. So there's that. And then the last one, starting over. Yeah, that's a big one. Y'all may remember, I'm not sure if you know, but so I got my name Lerato Marie. It was gifted to me in 2024 by a Swana tribe from Botswana in South Africa. And it was a whole little ceremony that happened. And I always wanted an African name, but when I got it and it was gifted to me in such a special way, I was afraid of wearing it. I was afraid of saying, okay, this is my new name. Like, this is what I prefer that you call me, right? Even though I know that names are important, even though I know that they hold weight, even though I've seen it, in biblical context where this is can be a powerful tool and agent for change, I was afraid to wear it for 2 years. I was just like, you can call me, maybe, maybe not, And it was when I came here to Medellín that I started living in a more conscious way, eating good food, being around people who love to be in ceremony, and also coming into this space where people were like, no, this is you embody this, girl, do it. I don't know, I can't explain it. It's about the energy, but I can't tell you how many people have come here and maybe they've changed their names, maybe they haven't, but they've changed their careers, they've changed their outlooks on life, the way that they were approaching spirituality or even healing. They've changed at a visceral level. And what I love about this environment is that they say everything grows bigger and faster in Medellín. And I feel that way. Medellín has a way of really putting fertilizer and a lot of rainwater on the seeds inside of you that you've been nourishing. I said last year I wanted to start doing wellness. Within 2 months of being here, I was doing my first international wellness event, right? That I didn't feel like I was ready for. And it was about flourishing and stuff like that. But there's something about this land and the people in it that can really nourish a new beginning. So Medellin is so beautiful for so many reasons, and I have to give it props for it. It's really been a life-changing space for me. Okay, so let's balance this out a bit. We talked about the pros, how great Medellin is, how beautifully healing it's been for me and others. Now let's talk about the cons. I'm gonna shoot straight here, all right? Again, this is from my perspective. And if you agree with it, if you disagree, feel free to drop a comment, but of course, keep it respectful, okay? All right, so the cons. The first con I'm going to say is that even though you can participate in geo arbitrage here because the dollar is stronger if you're a US citizen or you get your money from the States, understand that the cost of living is increasing in Medellin. This year, they actually had something great happen, which is the minimum wage was increased. I find that to be fair, but a lot of expats, we have been a little sticker shocked because that reflects in everything. But it's fair. And so as this place continues to grow in popularity and as things continue to kind of balance out, we will see that those prices will continue to increase unless you move to more of the outskirts regions, all right? Second con, which isn't really a con, let me be truthful, but it's just a hurdle that you would have to come over. You need to learn Spanish. This isn't a place where you can get by without it. So I want to put this with nuance. If you want the immersion to Latin America, then this is an absolute pro because it's going to force you to get out here and speak some Spanish. But if you're a person that's having a really hard time learning and you think it may take for you a while to get into it, then you may want to approach Medellin with some caution. While people are, the locals are learning the language, you know, they're helping to bridge that gap, it may still feel uncomfortable for those that are just bare beginners or just haven't really even touched a Spanish book. So I definitely recommend that you brush up on your Spanish before you come here, okay? Not really a con, but just something to know. Another thing to kind of know is the rain. Rain is beautiful. It's what makes this region so green. It's what makes it so lush. And we all know that this is a cyclical thing and rain should be invited as much as sunshine. But it can make things hard to plan. If you're trying to wear like your cute little sandals and you want your feet out and stuff like that, honey, that's fine, but just make sure that you have some gym shoes because we are in the city, okay? Sometimes it floods, sometimes it rains, and that's just part of the charm. Not really a con, but if you're trying to really track the weather and you want all sunny days, then La Ciudad de Primera Eterna, okay, well, the city of eternal spring is not for you. Okay. Number 4. I think this is number 4. Traffic. I talked about this in another video, y'all. Traffic here is a lot for people, especially like if you're trying to regulate your nervous system. In fact, I had to learn to utilize breathing exercises when I was going into it because it's just, whoo, honey, it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. So you will get comfortable with it, you know, throughout time. It's not that people don't care about how they drive. It's just that sometimes it gets a little chaotic and there is a lot of traffic. There's so much traffic that they have days where certain license plates can't drive. And yeah, just know that. It's like a Houston or a New York sometimes, right? Maybe not as bad as New York, but definitely Houston. If you're from Houston, then you'll be just fine here. These are the two, okay, we're going to round out to the last cons. There's not a huge list of cons here, but the ones that are, to me, are pretty significant. So I'm going to start with the issue with being able to keep friends. Now, a lot of us, we come here because we're looking to build. We come here because we're looking to build a new life for ourselves, a new identity, or we want to build more community. And community happens to be that force. If you're traveling, community is what's going to ground you and set you in that new land. When you have someone that you can go to and call on, and you know, you guys may go out and try something new, and now you've shared an experience and there's kind of a bond, and then there's some familiarity and comfort, right? Well, Medellin also happens to be a very transient place. So people will come here and hang out for like a month or two. Maybe they'll come for 6 months, and you build this dope bond with this new person. And you think that they're going to be your friend forever. But when they leave, they go back to their home, or they go to Bali, or they go wherever in the world that they want to, and that friendship fizzles. So for people that are really like, maybe they buy property here, or maybe they're just like, I am a resident, this is where I stay. It can be difficult because you do form bonds with people that are in and out sometimes, all right? Another layer of that is building long-term relationships with the locals. Now, I, as well as a lot of other immigrants or expats, have had our share of working or just really having a cool relationship with someone from Medellin, right? And those relationships are great because they're kind, they're charismatic, they're helpful, And you think that you're building a bond with a person. A person can bring you over to their house and introduce you to their family, and then you just stop hearing from them a month later. But they're still following you on Instagram. They still like your posts, but there's just no follow-up to conversations. There's no, hey girl, how you doing? None of that. And I don't know if that's just a cultural thing where it's like, listen, we have our family, we have how we do things. And yes, it was nice to meet you and experience you, but I don't feel like that it's a long-term interest. If you have been in Medellin and you have developed long-term relationships with paisas, please drop in the comments, let me know, consider yourself blessed, because many of us would love to have that, and not from a space of extraction, but just to ingratiate ourselves with the culture, to understand and give back. And it's just been difficult. It's been difficult for a lot of us. It's like, hey, we can be cool for 2 years, 2 months. We can have a great 2 days, and then it's just like, where'd they go? So yeah, that's one of the things. It can be difficult. I am so lucky. I'm so grateful. And even though these relationships are with fellow expats, I've made relationships with folks that will be in my life forever. I know that. And even when I'm away, we still make sure that we connect with one another moving forward. So, I mean, it kind of is what it is, right? As we're out here living these nomadic lives, it can just be a difficulty that could make a person feel a little less settled in a place. And then, speaking of dysregulation and unsettled feelings, I want to talk about the racist, colorist, and classist behavior that I have personally experienced here in Medellin. This was alarming to me because even having lived in Mexico, in several parts of Mexico, where, you guys may know there is a security guard. They may look at you. It may feel like you're being followed a little bit in Mexico, but not to the level of Medellin. So last night I was in a dinner with some friends. Actually, two of my roommates are of Chinese descent. So beautiful. They brought us into their culture. We did a whole experience with dumplings for the Chinese New Year. By the way, happy Chinese New Year to y'all. Happy Year of the Horse. We had this beautiful experience, and we're talking amongst one another, right? Everyone's different nationalities, different backgrounds, ethnicities. And one of the ladies asked me about my travel and what I'm for. And I'm like, I'm for divine feminine, and I'm for people experiencing themselves through travel, especially Black women. And one of the biggest things for us that we look for when we go to a place is to feel like a human, right? Because when I started traveling and I went to places like Portugal, and I went to, France, and I went to all of these different places, Thailand, so on and so forth, there were distinct memories and elongated experiences where I was able to wake up every morning, walk out of my house, and be approached and felt as though I was a human being before they saw a Black person, okay? And that was so rewarding, and it's addictive, and I want more of it. And while I hope that I would experience it here in Medellin, I have to tell you that personally I have not. I've met some great people, some beautiful people, paisas, wonderful. But I've also been in several situations where I'm just walking down the street and people are staring at me. And it's not the type of stare that I get when I'm in Mexico, where it's more of a curiosity and a, whoa, okay, yeah, look at you. But where it's a, who do you think you are? How the fuck did she get here? Type of energy. You're sitting with that little Colombian girl. What's wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with her? Where's her mother? Like, that type of repulsive energy that you sense from people from just walking down the street, sitting next to someone in the mall, or being. It does not feel good. Okay? It doesn't feel good in my body. It doesn't feel good on my skin. And so the lady that was at the table with us at dinner last night, she asked me, what are the things that regulate you and what are the things that tells you that a place is for you? And so we talked about it. I talked about the nature. I talked about, the accessibility. I spoke about to get to the States and to do small trips, but I also talked about the people. And while there are great people here, the sentiment that I have experienced has flared up my nervous system in ways that I didn't expect it, nor did I want. Just today, I woke up this morning. I went out with my friend. We got some food. I said, okay, girl, I got to go to the pharmacy. I'll see you back at the house. I went to the pharmacy. I was down an aisle. I was looking for a razor. I got my razor and I noticed a lady came and was literally here, like not even an arm's length, just maybe an arm's length away from me. And she's pretending like she's on her phone and she's like, looking, but I know what she's doing. I see her black outfit on and her name tag. So I'm like, okay, she's watching me. I'm going to give her this one. Fine. But I'm going to go to another row and see if she does it again, because at that point it's harassment, right? That's how it feels on my black skin. That's how it feels in my body. And so I go around the corner and I'm looking for my lipstick because they have a lip gloss there that I love. So I'm like, okay, let me get my lip gloss. Lo and behold, she comes around the corner. Now this time she's not pretending. She comes around the corner and she's literally right here. And she's just looking at me like, oh yeah, I want you to know that I'm looking at you. So at that point, I'm starting to feel threatened. I feel threatened in my body because I'm only trying to buy $20 worth of goods and get on about my business. The last thing that I'm here to do is steal, to rip anyone off, right? And the crazy part is that there was a white lady down from like in the same aisle, but she's on me, okay? So I flared up. Not only did my nervous system flare up, but righteous anger flared up because I don't like that. And that's not the treatment that I left the United States to walk into. And so I looked at her and I said, "Hay una problema." And she was like, no. And, she kind of stayed there for a minute and then she eventually walked around to the front. And so I stayed. I was like, okay. I was on the phone with my friend. I'm like, I'm going to walk around now and pay for my things, but I'm going to take my time and I want to see what she's doing. So she is now in the front telling her colleagues, and they're trying to surreptitiously look at me and see what's going on. So when I came back, because I'm already flared up, right? You activated my sympathetic nervous system. So I'm in fight or flight at this point. I'm just looking her and those other ladies dead in their eyes with the disgust that was brewing inside of me. Because how dare you? You didn't do this to anyone else in that store but me. And it's not fair. So I did purchase my things because I really wanted them. But it was disheartening. It was disheartening. It was angering. And it's one of the reasons why when I am in Colombia, I purposely try not to go to the big pharmacies, to the whatever. I had to go to I had to. Now I won't. I'll just go somewhere else and find something else. But I try to go to the local tiendas every day. I want to support the mom and pops because they tend to be the nicest. They tend to be the most warm, and they really do respect that as an extranjero, as a foreigner, that I see them and that I bring my money to them. They don't look at me as if they detest me and that they can't trust that I even have money at all. So that was my experience today, and that's what, pushed me to make this video. I want to be honest with you that even though here I'm not necessarily considered Afro, maybe by some people's standards I am, by other people's standards they would classify me as morena. right? Which is like, oh, well, you're not black, but you're black. And I'm like, no, I'm black. And I don't like how that feels here. And I don't like it because, not only because I have money, like there was a part of me as a US citizen that wanted to flare up in that type of, who do you think you are, arrogance? Do you know who I am and what, but I quickly stopped that and I was like, this is beyond me. This is beyond America, Americans, and your currency. This is on a basic human level. I don't like it when I see other Afro-Colombians treated a certain way or hear that they don't feel good in Medellin or wanted or well received here. I'm sure that there are people here that feel like, well, they must think that you're Afro-Colombian, so that's why they treat you like that. It is not okay. Because the color of my skin should not dictate my character. And I refuse to stay in places that promotes that type of energy towards me or my people. So it is and has made me reevaluate how long I will be here. I do plan to continue spending time here because I do have a great community. But in the future, I think I'll just circle back to Colombia to hang out with my friends, but not necessarily, or specifically Medellin, to hang out with my friends for a minute, but then go to some other places where that racist, colorist, classist sentiment isn't felt in my skin or in my psyche. I feel that people should have the right to search for better life. And I feel like people should have the right to be treated as humans regardless of where you go. It's just disheartening when you come to a place and you only have the best of intentions. I'm not here to extract, to only take. I volunteer, I give back. I'm focused on the mom and pop businesses. And I'm respectful of the culture in a sense where I want to learn from it. But I am not respectful of any institution that is going to dehumanize me because of my blackness, my beautiful blackness, or anyone else's. And so while I'm aware there is no utopia, there's no place in the world where you're going to go to where colorism or the remnants of white supremacy don't exist, I will, or at least we haven't found them yet, I will say that there are places that you don't feel it nearly as much. And unfortunately, this has been a place where I felt quite a bit of it. I really hope that it gets better because I think that there's a lot of opportunity here for people to build. And as humans, we need one another. And one day we will all realize that we need one another, right? So I do hope that things change in that regard. I do still have so many pros about this. Like 80%, if y'all noticed, I only had like 4 or 5 cons, but that 20% was enough to make me reflect back and say, I think I need to choose other in the future, at least for living. So while there are other expats that haven't necessarily had my experience, there are some that reflect it. And like I said, let's do better. Let's make sure that even as expats that we treat one another better, that we give grace to one another because we are such a small community building out here and we need one another. But even to our BIPOC brothers and sisters and to our non-melanated brothers and sisters in humanity, know that if you are an ally, allyship does not stop in the United States or in your country. Allyship is something that we do all over the world because all over the world, people should be treated like humans. So that is it. That's all I have. Like I said, I love being here for the most part. I love my roommates and the community that I have. There's so much about Medellin to know, and your experience may be completely different, right? Your experience may be so overwhelmingly beautiful that you live here and it's great for you, but this is just mine. Please drop in the comments. Let me know what you thought about it, what you have experienced being here or having traveled specifically in Central and South America. And I look forward to connecting with y'all honestly and respectfully in the comments. Until next time, be good to yourself, keep roaming, and we out here. Oh my God. That was a long ass video, but